Black history, black memories, black industries, black tendencies. So we're here to talk about it all. I mean, this is the black curriculum and this is what the platform is for. So let's get right into it. It is February and I want to say happy Black History Month for everybody watching. I was thinking about it. I saw a couple social media posts and the question that stood out to me was, how do you celebrate Black History Month? Well, for me, I can't really give you an answer, but I will say, give you a bit of advice on the conduct of Black history, right? So I will say celebrate, but also you should be consistent in your celebration, right? My hope is that Black History Month becomes an echoed conduct throughout the year. I mean, it's something that we would uplift Black people, Black history, Black industries, Black business throughout the year. I mean, I remember I put a haiku up yesterday and it said, "It's February, Black folks awesome all year round, and that's word to mother." 575, I followed the rules of the haiku. And yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, it is true that we are pretty awesome 365 days of the year. And this platform is to highlight not only the books that I read that are reflecting upon the Black experience, but also to share my experience in conjunction with the dialogue that's going on around the world about what it means to be Black, the problems that we're facing and things like that. So if you ask me, this book is a prediction of what's going to happen with Black Americans in America moving forward after the Civil War, after emancipation, and after ultimately being freed from slavery. Being free from the chains. Now, after that, there's still a lot of work to do. And I think that's where Booker T. Washington comes in and gives the blueprint on what to do, how to do it, and the consequences of if these things don't happen. Now, he begins by setting the context of what needs to happen with Black Americans as a result of being freed, and how we weren't really equipped with the tools to just transition from being a slave to freedom. I mean, that's a huge, huge transition. I like what he says about the industrial development. He says that we were, in a sense, redeemed by the industrial development. Now, keep in mind, he's referring to the manual labor that white Americans didn't want to put their hands into and delve into, the manual labor that we had to go and do ourselves. We were redeemed from that because mainly the industrial development basically took our spot as far as the manual labor that we had to engage in, that basically ran our lives as slaves. And so what now? Well, Booker T. Washington, after his education, basically passed the baton forward and delved into the Tuskegee Normal and Agricultural Institute and basically trained loads of men and women to be teachers and instructors, engineers, things like that, so that they can pass the knowledge forward and education forward. And I think that's so key in how our voices should reflect that of Booker T. Washington, and keeping in mind the Black icons that have set the course for us to move forward. It's our responsibility to move forward as one, because the work isn't done yet. I mean, we still have a lot of work to do when it comes to fields of education, educating ourselves on our history. I mean, this is what the Black curriculum is all about. This is what Black history is all about. And to me, it's a reminder that we as Black Americans are very resilient. We've come from so much turmoil and slavery and being impoverished, things like that. And we use that resilience to bounce back. But it's not it. There's a cyclical sort of motion. I mean, when we reach this peak of success, then that lays the groundwork for something else. And Booker T. Washington, he sort of talks about that as being stepping stones. But he describes that as sort of troubling for the Black Americans, that we have so many stepping stones in front of us that when we look at what we really have to jump over and what we really have to face and overcome, it's a bit demotivating. And so how do we face that and how do we combat that? Because it's inevitable. I mean, being Black, I mean, it's a very conflicting experience. For me, if you were to ask me what it feels like to be an African American in this day and age, even in 2017, I would have to answer by pointing to the words of W.E.B. Du Bois, double consciousness. Being Black, looking at that ancestry that didn't start in America, and growing up being born in a place where I realized that my ancestors were imports, right? So which do I identify with mostly? In my last video, I'll say this, I identified most with being American, right? Red, white, and blue, growing up in Virginia, not really having those deep, honest, painful, enlightening conversations about what it means to be black, and just tagging on the labels of, you know, the blackness that other people label you as, which might not be as positive and reaffirming. So with Booker T. Washington, I mean, that's what he addresses, the stepping stones, educating yourself after the emancipation and realizing that you have a lot of work to do, and basically using that power to pass forward the knowledge and the work ethic for other black men and women in order to create a powerful, more cohesive community moving forward into centuries ahead. And so I'll end this video on this note. Just a reminder that you can celebrate a lot of aspects about black history, because being black is to cover a spectrum, not only of entertainment, skill, knowledge, achievements, innovation, but also, you know, the tones and sizes, shapes, all this kind of stuff. Geographically, blackness is a huge spectrum that should be celebrated. So recognizing that, I would say don't bash people if they want to celebrate certain things over others. I mean, I know Beyonce, she got twins or something like that? I don't know. I gotta go and check, you know, scroll through and do a little Instagram research and whatnot. But that can be celebrated, you know? But, you know, you can also celebrate the doctors and the engineers. You can do that simultaneously. I mean, we live in an age where we have that transparent technology. So chill out, don't bash people because they're celebrating one thing over another. Just as long as you get your job done, stay true to your blackness and keep it moving. I mean, we all in this together. And ultimately, my last point, not make sure because it's going to take a process, but I will say that my hope is that the essence of Black History Month basically flows and transitions from month to month to month to month, because that means that we have accomplished equality. That means that we have basically embraced solidarity. And that means that we're doing it together as black folk, as white Americans, black Americans, Jewish Americans, Muslim Americans, yeah? That we all do this together. This has been the Black Curriculum.